Don't answer that, Lumi said, and hooked 2 fingers around the stranger's loosened tie. The camera flash hit before he could ask her name. Rain poured through the alley behind the Alder Hotel, silvering the brick walls and turning the pavement black beneath their shoes. 3 reporters had Sebastian Vale trapped under the service awning, microphones lifted, cameras ready, hungry for the kind of damage that looked romantic by sunrise. Behind them stood Vanessa Hart in a silver gown, perfectly dry beneath someone else's umbrella. Sebastian, Vanessa called, smiling like the wound had already opened, is it true you ran from our engagement announcement because of another woman? Every lens swung toward Lumi. She was still in her black server's uniform, damp hair stuck to her cheek, one hand gripping a paper bag of leftover coffee cups. She did not know this man. She did not belong in his scandal. She had $14 in tips hidden inside her bra because her apron pocket had ripped during dessert service. But Sebastian Vale looked trapped. Not weak. Not helpless. Trapped. And Lumi had spent her whole life noticing the difference. So she pulled him down and kissed him. It was not a love story kiss. Not yet. It was quick, quiet, and exact. Her mouth covered his just as the next flash burst white through the rain. Her body angled between his face and the cameras. Her hands stayed on his tie. Her other palm pressed against his chest, not soft enough to invite him closer, not hard enough to shove him away. The alley froze. Sebastian did not touch her. His hand lifted, then stopped beside her waist, suspended in the damp air as if he had found the line and chosen not to cross it. Even cornered, even soaked, even with his life becoming a headline behind her shoulder, he waited. That startled her more than his tuxedo. More than his name. More than the fact that Vanessa Hart looked as if she might kill both of them with one champagne flute. Lumi broke the kiss first. Sebastian's eyes opened slowly. Rain clung to his lashes. The neon from the hotel sign caught the sharp edge of his cheekbone. Now walk, she whispered. To his credit, he did. He moved beside her as if they had rehearsed it, as if she had always been the woman who stepped out of the rain and kissed him before the city could tear him open. Lumi threw her wet coat over his arm, tucked herself just close enough to sell the lie, and started down the alley without looking back. Behind them, the reporters erupted. Sebastian! Who is she? Is this why the engagement is off? Miss! What's your name? Vanessa's voice sliced through the storm. Are you serious? Lumi kept walking. Sebastian did not turn. That was his first smart decision of the night. His shoulder brushed hers once. The contact was accidental. It still sent a sharp little current through her. He smelled like rain, whiskey, and soap that probably cost more than her electric bill. His shirt was soaked through at the collar. His bow tie was gone. Somehow he still looked controlled enough to walk into a boardroom and ruin someone's week. You picked a terrible night to be dramatic, Lumi said under her breath. For the first time, Sebastian Vale almost smiled. Was that what I was doing? You were standing in an alley at 2 in the morning looking handsome and doomed. In New York, that's either drama or performance art. And you always kiss strangers involved in performance art? Only the ones blocking my way home. The lie came easily. The truth was worse. 10 minutes earlier, Lumi had not known his name. By morning, that kiss would cost her hours, her privacy, and the small, quiet life she had built by never needing anyone powerful to remember her face. But 10 minutes earlier, she had simply been trying to leave the Alder before the rain ruined her last clean uniform. The Alder was old Manhattan polished until it looked innocent. Brass lamps. Green velvet. Dark elevators. A lobby that smelled like cedar, lilies, and secrets kept for the right price. Lumi had worked the late shift there for 8 months, carrying trays through private rooms where rich people spoke softly about divorces, donations, mergers, and children who had disappointed them at expensive schools. She was good at being invisible. Invisible paid rent. Invisible got decent tips. Invisible meant nobody asked why a girl from Ohio had arrived in New York with 2 suitcases, a half-finished art degree, and a habit of drawing fire escapes on napkins during slow shifts. That night, the Vail Foundation reception had taken over the ballroom. Lumi knew the Vail name. Everyone did. Vail Development had renovated half the city and quietly owned pieces of the rest. Sebastian Vail, the oldest son, appeared in business magazines looking serious in navy suits. His father, Richard Vail, shook hands with mayors. Vanessa Hart, the woman the internet had decided he would marry, came from a family foundation whose donations could make museums smile and school programs survive another year. Lumi had served Vanessa sparkling water earlier that evening. "No lime," Vanessa had said without looking at her. People keep adding lime to things as if citrus fixes mediocrity. Sebastian had been standing beside her. He had glanced at Lumi. Not flirting. Not pitying. Just noticing. One small apology moved through his eyes and vanished before Vanessa could see it. Later, near the service hallway, Lumi had heard Richard Vail's voice behind a half-open door. "You will stand beside Vanessa tonight," Richard said. "You will confirm the engagement timeline. Her family's pledge funds the youth studio for 5 years. Your mother started that program. Don't make me shut it down because you feel restless." Sebastian's answer was low. "I'm not marrying her. You don't have to love every decision you make." "No," Sebastian said. "But I do have to live with it." Lumi kept walking. Servers survived by knowing the difference between overhearing and getting involved. But his voice stayed with her. Not the words. The pressure underneath them. The sound of a man trained to suffocate politely. By 2:17, the ballroom had emptied. The flowers were tired. The champagne had gone warm. Lumi collected abandoned glasses, accepted a distracted thank you from a hedge fund man who called her sweetheart, and escaped through the employee door into the rain. That was when she saw Sebastian under the awning. Alone. One hand braced against the brick wall. Shoulders squared. Breathing like a man who had just walked out of a burning room but could still feel the heat. Then headlights smeared across the alley, and the reporters appeared. Vanessa followed in silver silk. Sebastian's face changed by a fraction. Recognition. A setup. Lumi understood it at the same instant he did. The reporters had not found him by accident. Vanessa had not followed him out of concern. He had been pushed into a corner where every answer became proof of something. As Lumi tried to pass, he turned his head just enough to speak without begging. "Miss," he murmured, "don't stop walking. Just pretend you know me." That was all. He did not grab her. Did not offer money. Did not make his emergency her responsibility. He gave her a choice. That made walking away much harder. So she stepped under the awning, threw her coat over his arm like they had been arguing all night, leaned close, and let the cameras believe what cameras always wanted to believe. Then Vanessa said another woman, and Lumi made the fastest decision of her life. Now, at the end of the alley, a black car waited with its hazard lights blinking. The driver opened the back door, nervous and silent. Lumi stepped away. This is where the mysterious woman disappears. "You don't have to disappear," Sebastian said. "Trust me. I'm excellent at it." His gaze stayed on her face. "What's your name?" She almost told him. 4 letters. Easy to give. hard to take back. Instead, she pulled her coat from his arm. "Good night, Mr. Vale." His brows lifted slightly. "So you know me." "I work in a hotel. I know everyone who tips badly and everyone whose father scares the staff." A faint smile. "Which one am I?" "I haven't decided." A reporter shouted from the alley. The driver shifted uneasily. Sebastian glanced toward the car, then back at her. "You shouldn't walk home in this rain. And you shouldn't run from engagement parties through service exits, but here we are. Let me at least know." She said it gently, but he stopped. "Don't make this bigger by being kind in a way I can't afford." Something changed in his expression. Not offense. Understanding. He nodded once. "Then thank you." Lumi looked at him for 1 second too long. "You're welcome," she said. "Try not to get kissed by any more strangers tonight." "I'll do my best." She turned before he could see her smile. By sunrise, her face was everywhere. Sebastian Vale's midnight kiss. Mystery woman breaks Manhattan's most strategic engagement. Hotel waitress or social climber? Inside the kiss that rocked the Vale family. Lumi sat on the edge of her narrow bed in Queens with wet hair, swollen eyes, and her phone glowing in her hand while strangers turned her life into a guessing game. The photo was worse than she expected. It was beautiful. Rain shimmered around them. Sebastian's head was lowered toward hers. Her hand gripped his tie. His hand hovered near her waist, not touching, which somehow looked more intimate than if it had. The whole thing seemed romantic. Inevitable. Tender. A lie with perfect lighting. Her roommate Nora stood in the doorway wearing a sleep mask pushed onto her forehead. "Please tell me that's not you." Lumi sighed. "Define me." Lumi. "Fine. It's me." "You kissed Sebastian Vale?" "I blocked a camera with my mouth." "That is not a sentence regular people say." "No," Lumi said, scrolling past another headline. "Apparently regular people go viral before breakfast." By noon, the Alder had called her in. Mr. Halpern's office smelled like leather chairs and peppermint tea, which meant he was preparing to ruin someone's day politely. Lumi sat across from him in her black uniform while he folded his hands on the desk. "Lumi," he said, "you understand that the Alder values discretion." "I do." And discretion becomes difficult when an employee is photographed in a compromising situation with a guest of considerable prominence. "Compromising," she said. "That's a fancy word for what?" His mouth tightened. She knew she should stop. She also knew if she let go of her humor, her hands might start shaking. "We are not terminating you." How generous. "But until this settles, you'll be removed from lobby and event shifts. No main floor. No private rooms. No interviews. My rent loves mystery scheduling." His eyes flicked away. "There are concerns." "Security concerns?" "We had calls this morning." One man claimed he represented a documentary producer. Another asked if you were accepting offers for an exclusive story. Lumi looked down at her hands. There it was. The cost. "So last night's rain was my fault too?" she asked. Mr. Halpern had no answer. When she left his office, someone had taped the gossip photo to a staff cabinet and drawn a crown above her head. Under it, in black marker, someone had written, "Get your bag, girl." Lumi pulled it down without speaking. In the restroom, she locked herself in a stall and stood very still. Not crying. Not yet. Her phone buzzed again. A new article had a photo of her apartment building. Another had found her old college page. Lumi Carter, former visual arts student, left school before graduation. Sources say she moved to New York with big dreams. Big dreams sounded ugly when strangers said it. For 1 minute, she pressed her fingers against the stall door and let the panic move through her. She had built her life small on purpose. Small meant no one could take much. Small meant she could leave rooms unnoticed. Small meant failure stayed private. Now the whole city had her mouth frozen against a stranger's. She breathed in, then out. When she stepped back into the hallway, her face was calm again. That night, after a shortened shift sorting invoices in the back office, Lumi left through the employee door. Sebastian Vale stood under the awning with a black umbrella in one hand and her gray scarf in the other. No cameras. No driver visible. No Vanessa. Just him, looking less ruined than the night before and more tired. Lumi stopped. You know, most men text after a kiss. They don't haunt service exits. I didn't have your number. So you chose haunting. I chose returning your scarf. She glanced at it. Rich men have expensive hobbies. He smiled. It changed his face in a way she did not appreciate. Less headline. More trouble. I owe you an apology, he said. You owe me shifts. I spoke to Halpern. Her smile disappeared. Sebastian noticed. I told him this wasn't your fault, he said. You spoke to my boss. Yes. Without asking me. Rain filled the silence between them. His fingers tightened around the scarf. I thought I was helping. You were managing. He went still. Good, Lumi thought. Let it land. I didn't ask you to fix me, she said. And I didn't ask you to walk into my job with your name and make everyone wonder what I did to earn the favor. His jaw shifted. For a second he looked like a man used to solving problems with money and influence, only now discovering that both could leave bruises. You're right, he said. That stopped her more than an argument would have. I am? Yes. I should have asked. You're very strange for a billionaire-adjacent man. Technically, my father is the billionaire. Great. Nepotism with footnotes. His mouth twitched, but he did not laugh. I'm sorry, Lumi. Hearing her name and his voice caught her off guard. You found my name. The entire internet found your name. Comforting. I didn't mean to make your life smaller. It was already small. That was kind of the point. He looked at her then. Not with pity. With attention. You touch your scarf when you want to leave, he said quietly. Lumi's hand froze at her throat. She hated that he had noticed. She hated more that he was right. So do most women trapped in alleys with famous men, she said. He held out the scarf but did not step closer. There's another reason I came. Of course there is. The haunting has a second act. My family wants you at the foundation dinner in 3 days. No. I haven't asked yet. You were about to. My father wants control of the story. Vanessa's family is threatening to pull their pledge if the engagement collapse turns ugly. That pledge funds the youth studio program. Lumi looked up before she could stop herself. The youth studio? You know it? I used to read about it. Her voice softened, and she hated that too. When I was younger. My mother started it, Sebastian said. After she died, it became the only part of the foundation that still felt like hers. If Vanessa's family pulls funding, my father can fold it into something safer. Safer than kids making art. Safer for donors. Your father sounds charming. He's efficient. That's worse. I know. She studied him. And what do you want from me? One dinner. Publicly. As yourself. Not as a girlfriend. Not as a prop. I want to stop letting my father and Vanessa turn every honest thing into strategy. If I say yes, am I helping you tell the truth or helping your family sell another lie? He did not answer quickly. That helped. I don't know, he said. Bad pitch. I know. But honest. I'm trying. Lumi looked down the alley where last night's chaos had been washed clean. 3 days. 1 dinner. No fake promises after midnight. No touching me for the cameras. No publicist calling me your private friend. His expression changed. She caught it. What? She asked. He exhaled. My publicist drafted a statement. Let me guess. Private friend? Personal acquaintance. That's worse. I didn't approve it. But you considered it. For about 4 minutes. Long 4 minutes. Yes. She should have left him there. Instead, she took the scarf from his hand. I'll go, she said. His relief flashed and vanished. Not fast enough. But I'm not a stain you polish out, she added. If I feel managed, I leave. Fair. And if you send diamonds, I sell them and pay rent. That pulled a laugh out of him. A real one. 3 days later, Lumi stood in her apartment wearing a deep blue gown that had arrived in a garment bag so elegant it looked judgmental. Beside it sat a velvet jewelry box. Nora sat cross-legged on the bed eating cereal from a mug. You look like you're about to seduce a duke or testify before Congress. I'm going to a charity dinner. Same thing with better lighting. Lumi opened the jewelry box, saw diamonds, and closed it again. Nope. Those real? Too real. Nora pointed her spoon at the box. You could wear them once and then disappear to Portugal. I don't have Portugal confidence. You kissed a billionaire in an alley. He was billionaire adjacent. You're impossible. Lumi put on her own pearl earrings. Small. Fake. Hers. At 7, a car brought her to the Vale Foundation Gallery, a glass and limestone building glowing against the wet street. Sebastian met her near the entrance in a black tuxedo. His face stayed calm until he noticed the jewelry box was not with her. You didn't wear them, he said. No. I'm sorry. That fast? The jewelry was managing. Look at you. Learning in real time. His gaze lowered to the pearls. They suit you. They're fake. They still suit you. She did not know what to do with that, so she looked away first. Inside, the gallery glittered beneath crystal lights. Champagne. Piano. Silk. Tuxedos. Smiles sharpened by curiosity. Lumi felt the room take inventory of her. Shoes. Hair. Dress. Posture. History. Someone whispered waitress. Sebastian's hand hovered near her back. Lumi touched his sleeve with one finger. Not yet. He understood. That mattered. They moved through the room. When someone asked how they had met, Lumi smiled and said, "In the rain." Very inconvenient for everyone. It worked better than a lie. Then Vanessa Hart arrived in white. Her smile was perfect. Her eyes were not. "Lumi," Vanessa said. "How brave of you to come. How kind of you to make it sound like a medical procedure." A man nearby coughed into his drink. Vanessa's smile sharpened. "I admire your confidence. It must be overwhelming, walking into a room where every woman knows which fork to use." The piano seemed to soften. The room leaned in. Sebastian went cold beside her. Lumi felt him prepared to step forward, and she laid her hand over his. "Stop." Then she looked at Vanessa with a smile gentle enough to pass for innocence. "You're right," Lumi said. "I don't know every rule in this room. But I do know one thing. When someone is truly confident, she doesn't need a fork to draw blood." Silence. Then a laugh near the bar. Vanessa's face flickered. Lumi did not keep cutting. That was the trick. Win, then give the room somewhere better to go. She turned to Eleanor Bell, the older board member beside Vanessa. "Mrs. Bell, I heard the youth studio may expand into public schools next year. Is that still happening?" Mrs. Bell's face warmed with surprise. "If the funding survives." The answer landed harder than Lumi expected. Vanessa's smile thinned. So there it was. The trap was not only social. It was financial. Lumi nodded toward the student mural displayed in the East Gallery. Bright city blocks. Uneven lines. Young hands. Real hope. "I almost joined a program like that when I was 17, Lumi said. "Couldn't afford the train. That mural looks like somebody remembered the kids outside walking distance." Mrs. Bell looked at her differently. Not scandal. Not staff. A person who knew the door because she had once stood outside it. "Exactly," Mrs. Bell said. In less than a minute, the room changed direction. Donors turned toward the mural. Someone asked about transportation funding. Someone else asked how many schools were waiting. Vanessa's insult died in her room, suddenly discussing children, access, and the one subject she could not mock without looking monstrous. Sebastian watched Lumi as if he had expected her to survive and discovered instead that she could move the room. Later, he took her to the rooftop. The city spread beneath them, wet and lit, glass towers catching the last of the rain. Music from below rose faintly through the vents. The air smelled like stone, night, and expensive flowers dying slowly in centerpieces. Sebastian placed his jacket around her shoulders. Then stepped back. Lumi looked at him. "You always stop 2 steps away. Because you notice everything." "Not everything. Enough." His jacket was warm from his body. She should have taken it off. She did not. "You were extraordinary tonight," he said. "I was irritated tonight." It photographs similarly. She had no right to speak to you that way. No. But she had an audience. People get bold when cruelty feels like a group activity. He looked toward the city. "Vanessa isn't only jealous. I know. She believes I humiliated her. Publicly. And her family's merger with ours depends on the appearance that we're aligned. If I walk away, she loses more than a fiancé she never loved. Almost makes me feel bad for her." "Almost?" Lumi gave him a look. He nodded. "Fair." A gust of wind lifted the edge of his jacket on her shoulders. Sebastian's hand moved as if to catch it. Then stopped. The pause was louder than touch. Lumi looked at his hand. Still asking? Always. She should have stepped away. Instead, she stepped closer and reached for his tie. It was barely crooked. Not enough to justify her fingers on him. She fixed it anyway. His breath changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. Careful, Mr. Vale, she said. People might think you're not as untouchable as you look. His voice lowered. Only one person tonight seems to have figured that out. The silence after that had weight. His hand lifted again. Not to take. To ask. It hovered near the jacket, near her shoulder, near the place where permission would have been easy. Lumi almost gave it. She felt the yes rise in her before she trusted it. Sebastian saw it too. Worse, he did not use it. He waited. And that waiting made her want him more than any kiss could have. So she smiled, because it was safer than shaking, and stepped back. Good night, Sebastian. He let her go. After that, the 3-day agreement should have ended. It did not. Sebastian started appearing near the Alder after her late shifts with hot cocoa from a place 12 blocks away because she had once said the hotel cocoa tasted like sweetened carpet. He always claimed he had been nearby. Lumi began texting him at midnight when she knew he was still at work. Eat something that isn't coffee. His reply came 2 minutes later. Cruel but accurate. She smiled at her phone in the staff room and immediately hated herself for it. He hired her properly, contract, rate, everything, to consult on the annual foundation dinner's guest flow. Not as a girlfriend. Not as a favor. As someone who knew rooms because she had spent years being underestimated inside them. The night they walked through the empty gallery together, the place felt different without donors filling it. No champagne. No performance. Just white walls, security lights, and the low hum of traffic outside the glass. Lumi stopped at the seating chart. These seats are wrong. Sebastian came beside her with 2 coffees. Wrong how? You put Mrs. Bell back here. She requested a quiet table. She requested not to be used as decoration. Different thing. He frowned. Lumi tapped the chart. If she sits back here, Vanessa can say education donors are being sidelined. Then the board panics, your father calls the program unstable, and suddenly your mother's studio becomes sentimental waste. Sebastian stared at the chart. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his expression closed. Vanessa? Lumi asked. A board member. Asking why Mrs. Bell was moved away from the front. Lumi's stomach tightened. Already? He showed her the message. Attached was an older seating plan. Someone had leaked it with a note implying Sebastian had downgraded the youth program to make room for Vanessa's corporate sponsors. Lumi looked at the white walls. The empty chairs. The student mural waiting in the East Gallery. Move Mrs. Bell to table 3, she said. Near the podium, next to the transportation sponsor. Put Vanessa across the room. That will be obvious. Good. Obvious is only rude when you pretend it isn't. He studied her. How do you see this so fast? I worked rooms before anyone gave me a clipboard. She tapped Mrs. Bell's name. People don't always sit where they belong. Sometimes they sit where they want to be noticed. Sometimes they sit where someone wants them forgotten. Sebastian looked at her for a long moment. My board would pay a terrifying amount for that sentence. Tell them my rates go up after midnight. He laughed, but it faded near the student mural. My mother loved this program, he said. She said art was one of the few places kids could be loud without being punished. Lumi looked at the mural. One corner showed a girl painting a window bigger than herself. I used to draw fire escapes, she said. Fire escapes? From my bedroom window. From school. From diners. Everywhere. I thought if I drew enough exits, I'd eventually find one that worked. He did not answer too quickly. She liked that. My mother died when I was 17, he said. Cancer. Fast, then slow, then all at once. My father had me in meetings 2 weeks later. Said routine would help. Did it? No. His mouth tightened. But it made me useful. The words were too polished. Too practiced. Lumi set down her clipboard. You don't have to make grief sound elegant with me. He looked at her. For once, Sebastian Vale had no perfect face to put on. I don't know how else to say it, he admitted. Say it badly. A breath escaped him. Almost a laugh. Almost something else. I miss her, he said. There it was. Plain. Uneven. Human. Lumi's chest tightened. That works, she said softly. They sat beneath the mural without touching. For a while, the city did the talking. Then the media storm got meaner. The next morning, Lumi's apartment building was online. Her old college photo was everywhere. A woman she barely remembered from art class gave an interview saying Lumi had always wanted a more glamorous life. Someone else called her a con artist with good timing. Lumi read the words in Sebastian's office, then placed her phone face down on the table. He stood by the window, jaw tight. I'll handle it. She looked at him. Handle what? The press. Vanessa. My father. They're saying I'm not from your world. Her voice stayed calm because it had to. That part is true. Lumi, no. Listen to me. She stood. I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of becoming a useful chapter in your rebellion. His face changed. Good. You don't owe me a fairy tale, Sebastian. Just don't turn me into a secret. I wouldn't. You almost did. Personal acquaintance, remember? He flinched. She hated that she had hurt him. She hated more that the truth required it. You might call it protection, she said. You might tell everyone it was a misunderstanding so I can go back to my life. That sounds noble. It also makes me the woman you were too decent to acknowledge. He went very still. She saw the moment he understood. Not enough to fix everything. Enough to hurt. That evening, before the annual dinner, Sebastian found her in a quiet corridor near the service elevators. The ballroom was already glowing beyond the double doors. Cameras crowded outside. Flowers arrived in white crates. Security spoke into earpieces. Everyone looked ready for a beautiful execution. Sebastian wore a tuxedo. Lumi wore her uniform. The difference between their worlds had never looked more obvious. He held out an envelope. I won't ask you to stand beside me tonight, he said. But if you come, I won't let them call you an accident. Inside was an invitation. Her name was printed in black ink. Lumi Carter. Not mystery girl. Not waitress. Not scandal. Her. What are you going to say? She asked. The truth. As much of it as I'm brave enough to manage. That is terrible marketing. I know. You may lose the studio. Yes. Your father could remove you from the foundation. Yes. Vanessa's family could walk. Yes. And you're still doing it? He looked at her, tired and clear. I should have done it before you had to kiss me in the rain. Her throat tightened. She lowered her gaze to the invitation. I don't know if I'm coming. I know. You're not going to ask me to save you? No. Good. He stepped back. Respect, Lumi was learning, could be more intimate than touch. Trust yourself, he said. Not me. Not yet. Then he left her with the invitation in her hand. For an hour, Lumi did nothing. She watched the hotel transform around her. Staff polished glasses. Florists arranged orchids beneath chandeliers. Reporters practiced saying her name outside. In the restroom mirror, she looked tired and pale and nothing like a woman who belonged in a Veil Foundation ballroom. Then she thought of the youth mural. The girl painting a window bigger than herself. Sebastian's hand stopping midair in the alley. His voice saying, "Trust yourself." So she did. At 8:31, Sebastian Vale stood at the podium in the Alder Hotel's grand ballroom and prepared to disappoint everyone who had raised him. The room glittered. Chandeliers poured light over tuxedos, silk gowns, champagne flutes, and faces arranged into charitable concern. Richard Vale sat in the front row beside Vanessa Hart. Both wore the calm of people who believed the ending had already been purchased. Sebastian touched the edge of the podium. His fingers tightened once. Then he began. For most of my life, I believed my responsibility was to protect the Vale name. Richard's expression eased. Lumi stood outside the ballroom doors in a simple black dress she had bought 2 years earlier for a funeral and altered herself with steady hands. Over it, she wore her old coat from the rain, cleaned but still worn at the cuffs. A staff member had offered to take it. Lumi had smiled. I'm keeping it. Inside, Sebastian's voice carried across the room. I believed reputation was something you preserved at any cost. Even when the cost was honesty. Even when the cost was freedom. Even when the cost was other people. The room shifted. Richard stopped smiling. Vanessa's hand tightened around her glass. Lumi stepped into the doorway. Sebastian saw her. He paused. Every head turned. She did not move farther at first. She wanted to see him choose without needing her to rescue him. She wanted to know this was not another performance in better lighting. Sebastian looked at her from the podium, and the room disappeared from his face. The night the cameras found us, he said, everyone called her a scandal. But she was the only person in that storm who treated me like a human being. No one spoke. I don't know what we are yet, he continued. And I won't insult her by defining that for a room full of people before we've defined it for ourselves. But I know she is not a mistake. She is not an accident. And I won't apologize for choosing the one person who saw me clearly when it would have been easier not to look. The silence afterward was enormous. Then Mrs. Bell began to clap. One clap. Then another. Then enough. Not thunder. Not a movie ending. Something better. Uneven. Human. Richard Vale's face went cold. Vanessa looked at Lumi with hatred wrapped in diamonds. Sebastian stepped down from the podium, but he did not rush to her. He did not pull her close for the room. He simply stood there and waited, letting her choose. Lumi took one step, then another. When she reached him, her heart was beating too hard for elegance. "You made quite a mess," she said. His eyes softened. "I learned from you. Don't blame me for your character development." "I wouldn't dare." The laugh that escaped her was small and unsteady. "Coffee," she said. His brows drew together. "What?" "We start with coffee. If we start anywhere." Relief crossed his face before he could hide it. "Coffee," he said. "Monday?" "Monday." "Can I choose the place?" "Only if it doesn't have a dress code." "I know a diner." "You know a diner?" "I know where one is." "That sounds more believable." He smiled. "I'll do research." The room kept staring. The cameras outside kept waiting. But Lumi had set the pace, and Sebastian had accepted it in front of everyone. No correction. No embarrassment. No attempt to turn coffee into a proposal. Just yes. The evening did not end neatly. Richard left without speaking to her. Vanessa gave an interview near the entrance using the phrase emotional impulse twice in 30 seconds. Board members whispered. Donors recalculated. Reporters gathered outside like moths around a burning house. When Lumi and Sebastian finally stepped through the Alder's front doors near midnight, cameras flashed again. This time, Lumi did not flinch. "Are you two officially together?" "Lumi, are you in love with him?" "Sebastian, is this a relationship?" Vanessa appeared beside the entrance as if summoned by the word relationship. Her smile was polished and merciless. "I think everyone should take a breath," she told the reporters. "Sebastian has always had a weakness for dramatic gestures. I'm sure Miss Carter will soon return to the life that suits her best." The words sliced through the crowd. Sebastian turned. Lumi stepped first. She looked at the reporters, then at Vanessa, and let her smile arrive slowly. "We're starting with coffee," she said. "Rich people should learn patience." For one stunned second, the cameras paused. Then someone laughed. The story changed shape. Not mistress. Not climber. Not secret fiancé. Coffee. Patience. Her terms. Sebastian looked at her like she had moved a mountain with one finger. Then, in front of everyone, he nodded. "Monday," he said. Vanessa's smile finally cracked. Outside, the rain had returned. Not violently this time. It fell softly over the city, blurring headlights and neon until Manhattan looked less like a place and more like a secret someone was tired of keeping. The sidewalk shone black beneath them. The Alder's awning dripped steadily behind their backs. Sebastian opened his umbrella. Lumi did not step under it right away. He waited. Of course he did. She looked at him, this man trained to be untouchable who had somehow learned, between one rainstorm and another, that being chosen mattered less than giving someone room to choose. "Last time," she said, "I kissed you to save your reputation." His voice dropped. "And this time?" Lumi stepped closer. The umbrella tilted over them, shutting out the cameras, the hotel, the family name, the city's endless appetite. Rain tapped softly above their heads. His eyes stayed on hers, careful even now, asking without words. This time, she did not answer with a joke. This time, she whispered, "I'm not saving anything." Then she kissed him. Not to block a camera. Not to rescue him from Vanessa. Not to turn scandal into strategy. This kiss was slower, warmer, and entirely hers. She felt his breath catch before he kissed her back. Still gentle. Still restrained. Until her hand slid to the lapel of his tuxedo and pulled him close enough to tell him restraint had done its job. The city did not stop. Taxis hissed through puddles. Reporters shouted somewhere behind them. Rain kept falling over the Alder Hotel, over the service entrance where she had once tried to disappear, over the front doors where she now stood without hiding. When they finally broke apart, Sebastian rested his forehead lightly against hers. "Monday," he said. "For coffee?" "For whatever you decide comes after." Lumi looked past him at the rain-slicked street, at the shattered neon trembling in the water, at the city that had tried to turn her into a headline and failed. The first kiss had pulled her into his world. This one did something better. It proved she had walked in on her own.